Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today. We are so often conditioned to treat our lives as this endless, exhausting audition. We take on this massive, unpaid job of managing everyone's perceptions, fixing mistakes, and just constantly trying to prove our competence. But what if the scaffolding of performance that has kept you safe all these years was never actually meant to be your home? Today, we are going to step into a visceral spatial journey inside the ancient, folklore-rich present sanctuary. We're going to explore the strategic architecture of exactly how we break the grip of these performance patterns and return to our authentic selves. Get ready, because true freedom, it begins when you stop trying to earn your worth and finally consent to simply inhabit your life. But to actually find that freedom, we kind of have to look at what we've left behind, right? So where do your postponed dreams go to wait? I want you to feel the shift in the atmosphere right here as we join Ariella on her journey. Imagine walking down a heavy, quiet, and deeply vulnerable stairway. She's finally stepping away from the loud, exhausting cage of the approval trap up in the outside world, that place where she so often rang a metaphorical bell for applause just to feel safe. Walking right alongside her is the Golden Lion, offering the silent, steady weight of comfort. And Jael is there too, her protective warmth pressing just beneath Ariella's sternum. It feels as if the present sanctuary itself is holding its breath. At the very bottom of these stairs, they reach a massive, heavy stone archway. Carved right into the stone are the words, "The Chamber of Forgetfulness." And what strikes you immediately is how this space makes your physical body feel. Old jade vines are clinging to the heavy door in this gray-green embrace. Their tendrils curl around the edges like questions that have literally forgotten their own words. This isn't just a physical room. It's a profound somatic representation of the heavy residue left on the soul after years of performing, self-editing, and taking on all those restrictive survival identities just to make yourself easy for other people to manage. Now, just as the tension of this descent becomes almost too heavy to bear, it is abruptly punctured. Whiskers the cat, walking ahead with his usual swagger dialed way down, sniffs the dusty air and offers this dry, incredibly necessary observation: this room smells like abandoned potential. It's a touch of humor, for sure, but it strikes right at the heart of the matter. Whiskers brilliantly cuts through the tension just as Ariella is realizing how much of her vital energy she spends performing for others. He calls out the exact scent of what happens when we operate from a practiced self, that version of our identity we've heavily edited for external approval, leaving our true potential just gathering dust in the dark. Okay, let's dive into this room. As they step inside, the chamber is dim and totally tangled. Shelves are literally bending under the weight of countless vine-wrapped volumes. Spines are cracked, titles are completely lost to time. But here is what makes this so incredibly powerful. These books are trembling faintly. They are breathing in their sleep. And filling the air is this muffled sound, almost like quiet weeping. This sound represents the deep, quiet longing of forgotten stories. It is the sound of the parts of ourselves we erased while we were way too busy managing other people's moods and absorbing their conflicts. And this brilliantly illustrates the real cost of that performance. Through the tangled growth, Ariella reads these specific, totally heartbreaking book titles: Things I Never Tried, and right next to it, The Girl I Was Before I Learned to Be Careful. When she reads these, the words hit her, not just as text, but as a phantom taste of wild blackberries and scraped knees. In this exact moment, Ariella actively catches her practice self-reflex. She remembers a high-stakes professional moment from just yesterday, being called into an emergency that wasn't even her job to fix, simply because she's the one who always fixes everyone else's mistakes. She realizes she's been sacrificing her authentic self to rescue codependent people who refuse to find their own agency. She forsook herself because she accepted being manipulated by that classic line, "There is no one else that can help. I need you." Jael gently explains that these books hold the parts of herself she told to wait for later, and Whiskers, perched up on a low shelf, adds this really poignant commentary. And later is where dreams go to nap for 40 years. Wow, it's a striking reminder of the tragedy of deferring our hopes. When we make the unconscious trade-off of a childhood contract, sacrificing our authenticity just for belonging, we tell our truest selves to wait. We tell ourselves we'll get to those dreams later, once everyone else's problems are solved and everyone else is perfectly comfortable. But as Whiskers points out, later is so often just a polite word for never. Ariella turns to Jael, her voice barely a whisper, asking why these parts of her were forgotten. And Jael answers with this gentle, profound gravity. They were not forgotten because they were unimportant. They were forgotten because they were unprotected. Really think about that for a second. They weren't bad ideas or foolish dreams. They were simply left unprotected because all of Ariella's energy was spent protecting other people. Instead of laying down healthy boundaries and teaching the people around her to problem solve and self-lead through their own conflicts, she ran to the rescue, leaving her own soul's library completely unguarded. Giles' words bring such a deep comfort here instead of accusation. Now, as she gently unwinds a vine from a slender volume and opens it, the pages inside are completely blank. But they are not empty. They are waiting. I want to pivot this directly to you, our listener. For so long, you might have stood in your own internal hall of mirrors, treating self-reflection like a literal courtroom, issuing verdicts, cataloging your flaws, and making plans to perform better. But opening this book, that is treating the mirror as a doorway. You are shifting from fixing everything to practicing the quiet discipline of witnessing yourself with mercy instead of punishment. The story isn't over. It is still entirely yours to write. So, the crucial point is captured perfectly in Janelle's next words to Ariella. Forgetfulness is not your enemy. It is your archive. This right here is the philosophical climax of our explainer. We so often beat ourselves up for the years we spent trapped in performance patterns. But Janelle reframes this lost potential entirely. It's not a graveyard of failures. It is a safe, protected archive waiting for your return. The parts of you that you had to hide away just to survive didn't disappear. They were just archived until you were finally strong enough and safe enough to open the door again. Look at how Jael's wisdom settles into Ariella like a vow. Breaking performance patterns happens in what we call the discard cell. It means actively discarding the scaffolding you've outgrown, taking off that faded apron of always needing to be useful. It's exactly like ink reappearing on a faded map of a forgotten country. Those quiet parts didn't die. They are just waiting for your permission to breathe. You don't have to go backward. You're simply returning what was never yours to carry in the first place and taking back what is rightfully yours. All right, let's move into our next section. Title, Your Stepping Stone. Subtitle, Reclaiming a Forgotten Dream. I challenge you to find your own agency today. Let's do a quick scorecard of the 5 tight points to breaking this pattern. 1. Unmask your practice self. 2. Escape the approval trap. 3. Shift from fixing others to witnessing yourself. 4. Discard the scaffolding. And 5. Embrace the undignified dance of visibility. You can start this right now. Here is your prompt. Step 1. Write down one part of yourself you postponed. Finish the sentence. The part I forgot was. Name it. And step 2. Write one small way to invite it back into your life this week. Welcome back one deferred dream today and step into the cleansing rain of authenticity to wash away the ash of constant self-editing. I want to leave this powerful rhythm line with you to absorb. I remember what is mine. I welcome my becoming. Nothing true is ever lost. Let that be your personal mantra as you step out of the courtroom of external approval and into the doorway of your true self. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I invite you back for our next Ink and Fire session and more of the Present Sanctuary's Chronicles. Until then, I leave you with this provocative thought. Who could you become if you finally stopped auditioning for the life you are already living?